Ron Kaleem is a creative photo artist with a great eye for creating beautiful pictures, capturing many dimensions of life. Yeah. He adds words to his art with stories and life situations spanning time to bring the art into realities that are sometimes forgotten, denied, or ignored. His photography has been displayed in exhibits at the Joyce Gordon Gallery in Oakland, Richmond Art Center in Richmond, Jingletown Art Studio in Oakland, Oak Stop 14 Gallery in Oakland, and Women's Cancer Research Center in Berkeley. Ron has also exhibited his photo artistry with the art of the African diaspora, formerly the art of living Black, in the San Francisco Bay Area. Ron chooses the elements of clouds with a Z to not just focus on the clouds of the atmosphere, but also the emotional and intuitive clouds that fog our being. With some beautiful photos, he intertwines stories and adds beauty to disaster, seeing colors in new dimensions. Skilled as a multidisciplined design draftsman, lines, circles, angles, and arcs take on a new meaning when he's behind the lens, engineering words to build an eye to the presence of the mind and beyond 3 dimensions. Without further ado, I leave you with Ron.
Okay, good morning. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep, I can.
Okay, okay, I'll start. Can you believe that? Look up by Stanley's house in the hills. I can see half a rainbow growing just behind those clouds over there. Come on, let's hurry before it disappears. You know it's said that there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Come on, let's go. Really? I heard there's money in the clouds, and the clouds look a lot closer. In our neighborhood, we get clouds that these jets or airplanes fly and leave these lines in the sky, and then they turn into clouds. These clouds are not so cool because there's no rainbow. But guess what? We see money falling from these clouds. You can see all the money falling, looking like all kinds of coinage, gold and silver, shining and pretty, very glittery, but it disappears before it gets to us. We should be rich by now, if only that money can reach us. I think we should go up to Stanley's house in the hills. It's closer to the clouds, and maybe that is why they have big houses, cool cars, and man, have you seen inside the grocery store up there? We can catch some money up there from the clouds. Well, my brother told me that those clouds are called chemtrails, or they do cloud seeding because some people want to change parts of nature or think they are improving life, manipulate the environment and create disease and make people sick. And you're right, there is no rainbow. All right, want to go see if we can catch some money by Stanley's house so we can get some ice cream and go before we go home? I have enough money to get us some ice cream because tomorrow when I help Mr. Edgar, I'll get paid and I will ask him if he can help too. And after that, and after having no luck with the rainbow or clouds, Carl and Ron head for home before the rain starts, where it gets too dark at nightfall. Hey, do you want ice cream? Yeah, I want a snow cone that looks like a rainbow. Okay, I'm gonna get 2 scoops of rainbow sherbet. Come on, let's race. And that's the first piece.
Yes, thank you, Ron. Yes.
And the second one starts here. This is titled Longing to Hear Your Voice. Before the shelter in place took place, I was hoping to see my dreams and goals manifest, to take you to lunch, dinner, dancing, or roller skating, with you to hear the sound of your voice, to be tickled by the vibration of your laughter, to see how the birds, bees, flowers, and nature embrace you as you show your appreciation of their beauty. I don't know when or whether all this up from above will manifest. From the first time we met, I felt the warmth of your heart while having the opportunity to see and feel the openness of the village from which you came. So now as we share pictures, blessings, and a virtual connection to stay encouraged while we strengthen our unknown abilities, I would like nothing more than to be able to look into your eyes, hold your hand, give you a big hug, and feel the song your heart beats. Right now, I would just love to hear your voice, feel your laughter, and have fun living a beautiful life, unmasked. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Woo! Please unmute and give them applause. Give them energy.
Woo!
Yes. Let's give them some
All righty.
energy.
There you go, Ron. That's nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Beautiful pictures too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'd like to introduce the next reader, Mazan Akabulan Abaka. Did I say that correct?
Kind of. Right. Close enough.
Close. Mazan creates artistic experiences to transform lives. She's a co-creator of Spirit Works, an Oakland-based organization that promotes intergenerational wellness and racial healing through engaging cultural events, innovative consulting, and experimental training. Is that me? Experimental training for parents, youth, and development. Mazan uses her artistic abilities to create safe space for people to process through the impacts of racial violence and sexism in order to build resilience, compassion, and empathy. Mazan has studied dance and mindful movements and is a self-taught painter and writer. As an installation artist, she has exhibited work throughout the Bay Area, including the 2018 Black Woman is God exhibit and Black Panther 50-year commemoration. She is a lead artist and curator for the Experience Sankofa Project, an innovative installation exhibit that combines history, live performance art, and sacred altars into the interactive timeline of African and American history. As a writer, Mazan has performed her spoken word pieces at the African Liberation Day, the 1,000 Man March, and numerous political rallies and community gatherings. She was a founding member of the Society for the Preservation of African American Culture in Sacramento and is a proud partner in the Black Culture Zone in Oakland. Her works have been featured in live performances and studio recordings with California artists such as Soul Clap, DJ Rebellion, The Spear of the Nation, and The Spear of the Nation. She has self-published 2 short booklets of poems in the late 90s. Over the past 2 decades, Mazan's writing has been focused on curriculums as well as programmatic and evaluation tools in her professional career. However, writing remains a healing modality that is resurfacing as an extension of her transformative work. She is currently working on a book to inspire activists and educators to be healthy, balanced, and spiritually grounded in the fight for justice and freedom. Mazan has a master's degree in public health and lives in Oakland with her husband, her 5 children, her dog, and her snake. And here she is.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Yay. So the piece I'm going to share with y'all is part of this collection of work that I'm writing, again, to help inspire folks to just be grounded in the work and really see what transformation can be like in their heart, minds, bodies, and souls, and in our communities. It's kind of a collection of essays, of practices, and of poems. And so this is one of the poems that I will be sharing with you today. It's called Catching My Breath. Here it comes again, that tightness, that pain, feeling the weight of oppression constricting my breath, sirens, gunshots, dogs barking, tightness like a noose on necks squeezed to liberty, squeezing to death. I wheeze on my inhale, struggling to grasp the nourishment of oxygenated air, tightness, pulse pounding ribs, eyes bloodshot, each breath a subtle whistle as my lungs are pressured to fill up, turning blue to purple. Each breath a moment of suffocation from power imbalances, purple to red. Racism is stifling. Capitalism inhibits vibrancy. Male supremacy, a sick perversion of the essence of life. I inhale, and it burns, red to fire, like the knee on the neck of my 3 sons, my husband, my brother, tight chest, heart wrenched deep like the grief of a mother's loss, then tossed to a hashtag and swag fit for rallies and marches. A nation is on fire. The charge is to breathe, to break the yoke that chokes unprovoked. Enough is enough. I cough, ejecting fear as phlegm, thick and sticky. I cough, expelling doubt with explosive conviction that there is another way. I must inhale. Inhale sage and lavender. Inhale peppermint, eucalyptus. Inhale deep to remember, to bring me back to my body. Ancestral memory absorbed. Reminded of the power of the wind, Oya, poised to make each inhale more meaningful, more nourishing, more like freedom in the flesh. Breathe, she says, wind on my lips, blowing fire, phoenix rising from the inside, catching my breath. Breathe in and trust that there is power in my breath, power in my life. Each inhale now a coat of armor for my airways of love and courage and tiny tenacity that teaches us to tango with time. I breathe in my time, my rhythm and my rhyme, and I release fear and exhale. I release the pain in my body, exhale. Shoulders drop, spine aligned, easeful and alert, exhale. My breath an act of resistance, my breath an art of resilience. Inhale and exhale, and it all becomes the now, the present moment when justice is the process of self-reflection and mass movement. Inhale and exhale as a paired package of people power in the present. Deep as the flow of lava, strengthened to the core, igniting flames that fuel freedom. Breath birthing life eternally. Ancestors walking with me, orange and gold, Serengeti strong, shining light through my lungs like liberation on my tongue. I breathe for those who couldn't. Reciprocity, regenerational energy. Inhale and exhale in this present moment, in this now, where I am safe, I am protected, I am here, I am well, I can breathe. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, let's unmute and give it up. Give her that energy.
All right.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Thank you, Mizan.
Thank
And
you.
Yes.
remember to put your questions in the chat box. Mizan, did you already tell them what this would be the larger work that this would be a part of?
Yeah, that's where we started. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce the next author, Mizan?
Yep, I'm all just sitting in the joy of it. Sorry. Yes, I am about to introduce the magical Courtney, whoop, whoop, who's got so much love and family in the mix today. So we all are here to support her. Courtney is also known as Karita. She is an inspiring writer and blogger on all things food, fun, relationships, and healing. She currently lives in Houston, Texas, and has been employed for over 10 years working with children and families. Outside of writing, she enjoys music, traveling, and spending time with family and doing bald-headed hoe-ish with friends. Courtney's short stories take you on a journey of overcoming strained relationships while structuring other areas of her life. I'd like to introduce the magical Courtney. Whoop, whoop.
Woo. Good morning, y'all. Thank you, Mizan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as Mizan said, my name is Courtney. I'm also known as Karita. I am an inspiring writer and blogger. A lot of my pieces that I write are short stories, and it's just based off of my life, things that I went through, relationships, and just, trying to structure it all and figure it all out. So this piece that I'm going to read today is called On the Rocks. Welcome home, college girl. my mama joyfully said as I arrived home. It was an early Saturday morning in the country, birds chirping, and a beautiful sunrise as my mama greeted me on the driveway wearing a muumuu, house shoes, and a silk bonnet. I was in my first year of college at the university level, hadn't seen my hometown friends in months, and was long overdue for some family time, a margarita on the rocks, and a home-cooked meal. Being back home was a joy, but it also meant back to following house requests, not staying out too late, keeping my music from waking up the whole house, and going to church. I heard it so much growing up. If you can stay out all night partying, you can get your ass up and go to church. Their house, their rules. My ex-boyfriend Scooter lived about 25 minutes away, so whenever I travel, his house was always the go-to spot. But since our recent breakup, things had changed. As I walked in the house, my daddy was up cooking breakfast. His excitement for me being felt was through his cooking. Aunt Jemima pancakes, eggs, grits, and that thick bacon, while my mama helped with the rest of my bags. After I ate, I went to my room to relax and unwind from the long drive. Shortly after, my cell buzzed. It was Scooter. I threw it back down and let it buzz. Either word travels fast or he sensed that I was in town.
Courtney, you muted? Courtney,
I'm here.
you muted. Can
Uh-oh, okay.
you go back to word travel fast?
Okay. Shortly after my cell phone buzzed, it was Scooter. I threw it back down and let it buzz. Either word travels fast or he sensed I was in town. Scooter and I had been together for about a year, and after episodes of Maury Povich, I knew I wasn't ready to be baby mama number 3. Not to mention, my parents weren't fond of his lifestyle and reputation in the streets, and they definitely didn't want that for me. When Scooter and I met, we instantly hit off. In my eyes, he was different from the immature college boys. Scooter was older and wiser, smart but quiet, and always so chill. We had an understanding that as his girl, no baby mama came before me, and no illegal transactions were to occur in my presence. Weekends with Scooter was full of Crown on the Rocks, club hopping in his old school Cadillac, and raunchy nights. I didn't have the spinning rims like him, but my car stayed clean and gassed up. He covered all weekend costs, fed me good, and put it down. In my tender 21-year-old mind, this was all I needed before it was time to go back to studying and cramming math equations down my brain. Later that evening, the fam and a few friends came over. My daddy whipped up oxtails and gravy, collard greens, a pot of red beans and rice, and Jiffy cornbread, while the rest of our Saturday was spent laughing, playing cards, and sipping margaritas. Everyone left about 10 p.m., heading home to prepare for church the next morning. I cleaned the kitchen, showered, and went to bed. 1:02 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my phone ringing nonstop. I knew it was Scooter because the ringtone set to his name was Torn by LaToya Luckett. I scrambled through the sheets to find my silver Nokia, flipped it open, and quietly listened as he gave off a sound of hellos before telling me to come outside. I know this nigga did not just show up at my parents' house, I thought to myself. Scooter was quiet, but a bold one. I rolled out of bed to notice the dimly lit headlights on his Cadillac Seville shining through my window. I deactivated the alarm, let the garage up, and hopped in the back seat where he sat reclined in a white tee, a smirk on his face, and boxers at attention. The AC blew high as the tunes of Charlie Wilson's There Goes My Baby sang through the speakers. He knew my weaknesses and knew he was one. I put my big girl panties on and forced myself to have that uncomfortable conversation one final time. Sunday morning, my daddy was up preparing breakfast, eggs, deer sausage, and biscuits, while my mama sat on the back patio sipping coffee and studying her Sunday school lesson. That nigga ain't the one, my daddy said as he buttered the remaining biscuits. Stomach. My stomach was in knots. I let out a soft, I know. I ate a small plate before heading to church. Scooter never cared for church or religion, and if he didn't want to do something, wasn't no change in his mind. He could recite his favorite verse, Jesus wept, before we ate, but that's about it. Sundays would consist of waking up extra late, eating breakfast, and heading out to the club. Same old routine. Certain habits got old, and I seen our lives going in two different directions. I arrived at church, and the pastor's message was from 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you will be able to bear it. He went on to explain, we all have weaknesses, temptation, and although some days may be better than others, there is always a way out if we keep the faith and hold on. Months of not going to church made me realize spirituality and having my spirit fed was the fuel I needed. As children, we're taught the 5 food groups to balance a healthy lifestyle and gain nutrients that's essential for life and growth. But as adults, we tend to forget what a balanced lifestyle should look like outside of work, family, and happenings in the world today. Prayer, meditation, or finding an activity to keep us rejuvenated is key to elevating ourselves, growing, and building. Things eventually ended between Scooter and I, but the lesson I took from that relationship is to never be ashamed of your mistakes or who you once loved. Everybody comes to the table with baggage, but we have to decipher what's worth shuffling through, who we let in, and who we let go. Mistakes are part of the course, or what one would call growing pains. Until next time, Karita.
Unmute and give it up, y'all. Unmute and give it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
nice.
y'all.
Great. Yes.
That ain't the one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Courtney.
Thank you. All right, I am going to introduce Jamel. Jamel Dobbins is a humanitarian, military veteran, martial artist, yogi, and student majoring in public health. He writes from time to time to ease his mind. Introducing the poetic Jamel.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
One of the things that I've always battled with being a veteran, trying to understand what that means, is the constant thought of what it meant to really serve, like what was I actually fighting for? And I know it's a question that a lot of us had signed up and put on uniform. So this time right now feels like something that we literally just watched, or we just already played out in our heads while we were on deployments or just wherever we were. And the recent situation in the streets with George Floyd, a lot of us have had a lot to say. A lot of us have understood that it's been something that it's not new. And when it comes to what it means to be a Black man in America, whatever that means for most people, and to be a service member, I spent a great deal of my years away abroad serving where I didn't have family. The family were the people that I kept here and near and dear to. And my mother was somebody that I spent 5 years without truly being able to speak to based off of my situation. And George Floyd cried out in his moment of agony for his mother. And they've always been important to us. This piece here was written from us. Hey, Mama. Your love for me has granted me air to breathe for centuries since the beginning of time. You nurtured me from seed to tree. We gaze at thee so beautifully. How blessed are we, celestially destined to be this little light of mine. Our energy harmoniously orchestrated, melodiously, rhythmically dancing as the one with the gentle breeze to the melody of our heart's beating symphony. Sweet serenity. Fear no enemy. I'll be there for you as you were there for me. Sublime. And that's that one. I was able to read that to her And I was grateful because being abroad, I always struggled with being able to understand if I was going to be able to make it back. So to be able to have a voice and be able to use it and share with her meant a lot to me. This next piece that I'll share is a piece in which I was walking through the streets, and I saw this couple, and I spoke. I did the normal human greeting and said, hello, how are you doing? And they acted as though they didn't even know who I was. About 30 minutes later, I came across them again. I spoke, or actually they spoke to me, and the man opened up with this line. Forgive me for all the shuffling, y'all. I thought I had these things in order a little bit better.
It's okay. Take your time. Right? You can take his time, right? Come on, y'all. Give him some energy. Tell him to take his time.
Yeah, take your time, bud.
Yeah, you good, Jamel. You got it.
Thank you. But it was strange running into this individual, and for you to do your typical human greeting when you see somebody in the streets and you're decent with them. People speak back, but sometimes people don't speak back, and it's super strange. I guess I'll get back to that one. The next piece that I'm going to share is one of the pieces that while I was out there on, I worked as a maintainer for 9 years. So what I did is I worked on C-130, KC-135, heavy aircrafts, and I worked on there from sun up to sundown, along with a couple of different jobs. So to give you an idea, these planes are on a flight line as far as the eye can see. And some days you get food, some days you don't, but you always work as hard as you possibly can, right? So this is just a piece of a moment while I was serving. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Pivot, crisp transition, pin the left, raise the right, salute the flag with a person, a debate for another night. As the giant props throw rocks in a storm of sand where you can't breathe, see, let alone stand. I idly wait under the cover. The external power source, once connected, now doing its best imitation of a shield and cozy safe haven on the otherwise desolate plane of dimension. Scanning the void for foreign objects, famished and exhausted, the flexible spine supporting a body of work that's never quite absolute yet. Talk about respect. You want to win? Put me in. Witness the legwork off the pine, safely, then by the book, the lost motto in the sands which blind, defiance of time, a true example of race being a crime. Mostly mindless conversation, just enough to get by. Warily heave ho until your body is etched with chalk. Release any possible thoughts of warm child. 20 mic out, another bird squawks. They can't do this to us. I'm going to end this now. Such privilege, such passion on exhibit without shame. A luxury of pleasure which reverses its flow, planting more cancer to grow from deeply rooted pain. Look at me. Remember why you're here. For years, I've endured the same. Holster your emotions. Imagine you're unbothered. Revel internally at masses' disdain. Do what you want to my body, but my mind is too beautiful a thing. The uncaged butterfly that flies twice as high as any sortie we generate. These man-made fires burn hot, but only along my attention to rod do my wings have permission to disintegrate. Fret not thyself, I say. There's got to be at least one box nasty on the way. 5 mic out, the final squawk. You, relax the jaw. Hand off your hip and grab the chalks. Called in with zero discrepancies. Check pressures, fluids, treads, and threads. We'll put this baby to rest quicker than your old lady back home can surprise you with a positive text. The beast bellows in the distance. Positions, everyone. Crisis averted. Back to my plight. He who's denied basic human rights qualified to wield wands of light, taxing in millions to safety each night. Now that don't seem right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jamel.
Good job, Jamel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If everybody is okay with this, and Jamel, if you're okay, the first one, I didn't hear it as well. Do you feel comfortable reading it again with the same, you got, I guess, closer to the speaker this last time?
Okay. Oh, right on. Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I done got the jitters out. I'm done shaking like booty meat. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm here now. All right.
Good. Just go right into reading it.
All right. So this one's for my mother. Hey, mama. Your love for me has granted me air to breathe for centuries since the beginning of time. You nurtured me from seed to tree. We gaze at thee so beautifully. How blessed are we celestially destined to be this little light of mine. Our energy harmoniously orchestrated, melodiously, rhythmically dancing as one with the gentle breeze to the melody of our heart's beating symphony. Sweet serenity. Fear no enemy. I'll be there for you as you were there for me. Sublime. Thank you.
Yes. Give it up, y'all. Unmute. Give them some energy.
Good job, Jamel.
Good job,
That was
good job, man.
beautiful.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you, Jamel. You'll introduce the next person.
So I'll read the third one. Yeah, I have one more.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm in
I'm
this.
sorry.
So this was the piece that I couldn't find that I just found. Moving into the walk down the street. As soon as I saw the man the first time, he didn't wave. The second time, he looked me dead in my face and asked, "Are you from a horror movie?" A white man asked as my lungs worked overtime to receive fresh air through my mask. I laughed. Why do I wear the mask, you ask? With love in my heart and your protection in mind, I don this apparatus restricting my airways, constricting my very existence to save yours. Walking nightmares eye to eye as we pass by, you fear my very existence and I fear I'm living a lie. One call and my slice of the American pie cut thin, then hung out to dry, feeling no more. Vultures pick as cherry red drips for simply opening my lips to taste. Warm, flavorful, and ready to serve. I wait half-baked, prematurely dragged from mother's oven as you lick your chops, soulless eyes and dress my soft flesh, salivating uncontrollably, anxiously ready to devour. Blade clenched horrifically in your grips, I ask, are you from a horror movie? Thank you.
All righty, now you're on a roll. All right.
Ready?
Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for listening. And next, I would like to bring up an advocate, a wonderful being in our community who recently had a birthday and just continue to move forward. Her energy has lifted quite a few of the classes so far for us. And she goes by the name of Nifa Akasua. And if I butchered that, she's going to beat me up, and that's cool. I apologize. Please let me know how to say it. She is a Richmond. Akosua. All right, Nifa Akosua. Nifa Akosua is a Richmond, California native with a passion for advocating and healing communities. Her mission is to heal systematic trauma and help people reach Black joy. Please give it up for Nifa Akosua.
Ashe. But
Yes,
hold on, my
Nifa.
cousin's trying to get back in. She got locked out. Do you
I
see
know,
her
but every time she pops up and I go to do it, it leaves. So it's not sustaining for some reason. So I told her to try to call. You want to wait till we could switch. You could have somebody, you could go after the next person if you want to wait to see if she can get back in.
She gonna have to miss this thing.
I'm like, you.
Tyler up here. I just need like one person here. Tyler here.
I'm here.
Wait. She's coming
we
in.
all
She's
here
coming
for
in.
you,
She's
sis.
coming
We
in.
got
She's
you.
in.
Oh, okay. Look, I'm
There
like, I
she
gotta go.
There we go, Ayesha. We was waiting on you.
Oh my God, I'm so
We was
sorry.
waiting on you.
Look, I was like, look, Ayesha, I was about to leave y'all ass. I'm like, hey, I got to go.
I made her wait for you, Ayesha.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, y'all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. I'm going to do 2 pieces. What does it mean to be motivated despite the trauma and hopelessness you constantly feel? Some days it's like the weight of the pain is crushing me and I start to feel like there's no point in continuing. But then I realize that this has been my story for generations. And from the pit of my stomach, I start to feel a burning flame igniting my passion. I feel deeply that I must go on. This sensation moves quickly through my body. The day I spoke at the Crime Survivors Conference, my granny had just passed a few days prior. Imagine having to speak and grieve at the same time. I sat on stage praying to hold it together, breathing deeply and allowing myself to let this moment be what it was. As I held the heart-shaped crystal I got from my granny to honor her transition, I felt the calmness, as if it was exactly where I needed to be and doing exactly what I had came here to do. I can't deny how heart-wrenching it felt to be there, or the fact that literally a year ago that day, I was at this same conference, sitting in the audience praying that my brother would survive. It's crazy that this pain was hitting me back to back. That year I was just attending, and now this year I was speaking. I had the burden of my granny passing and the knowing that the stage awaited me. It was terrifying to speak and grieve, but I knew that this moment was in my granny's honor. She never spoke on the stage before. She ain't never spoke on to no crowd before. I'm her legacy. I have to go speak for her because she never got the opportunity to do these things. I internalized it in a way to see this perspective. I then became enthusiastic about speaking. I was so scared, but the love I have for my granny is what kept me going. That love drives me to strive and achieve. I love my granny so much that I'm loving her on this stage. I'm loving her by being here. This is my love offering to her. And I felt honored to do that. There's a deep responsibility that fills me up when I think about who and where I come from. I notice in my deepest and broken moments is where my evolution started. Being a girl from Richmond, I had already had a stamp on my back, but I wasn't aware of it until I started venturing out to other cities. It didn't matter what I said about my city. People always held a negativity around it, and I wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted them to see talent, passion in my eyes. I got so good at this that they would question if I was really from Richmond. I heard it a million times. You don't act like a girl from Richmond. You seem like you're from Berkeley or something. This made me start shouting out my city, every panel I spoke on, every speech I gave, and every opportunity I got to let the folks know I'm from the south side of Richmond, the city of pride and purpose. You're not gonna hold us down. You're not gonna count us out. That's the first one.
Yes.
Awesome.
Take a breath, Monifa. Take a breath.
Good job.
You got it.
Good job. Girl, I'm so proud of you. This was raw.
All right, let me get my other little piece. Hold up. Okay, this is a poem. I am eternal Black woman in the flesh, rising from broken hearts, bruised souls, and distorted minds. You can't stop me. I am the daughter of oppressed bodies, sore feet, and bleeding hands. You can't move me. I won't be moved. My mission is rooted deep in the hearts of my ancestors. What I become, we are. Their spirits are entangled in my soul. They take me where we need to go. I am eternal Black woman, born in the flatlands of Richmond, California. I carry pride and purpose in my being. There is nothing I can't and won't achieve, and there is nothing I can't and won't do for my city. I am determined to heal hood culture, determined to create new pathways. I am eternal Black woman, shining light through the darkness, turning pain into passion, and using the power of love to eliminate all fear. I am an unstoppable force, destined to thrive. I am eternal Black woman. All right, y'all, that I did it.
Yes,
Oh my gosh, that was beautiful.
Eternal Black woman with healing hood
That's right.
culture. She out here. She active, y'all.
Ashe.
All right.
Ashe.
Yes, good
So
job,
much
Nisha.
passion. So much passion.
Woo! We
Good
gotta be
job.
imaginative in the house, y'all. Yes.
Good
Oh,
job,
yeah.
Nisha.
Right.
That
I
was
didn't put it in the
powerful.
But I
bio.
do.
I did like short and sweet. I should have put that in my bio, but I be like short and sweet. Y'all know how I am. But
Okay.
y'all can look it up. Y'all look me up. Look me up. No, it's like, okay. Hold on. All right. Woo! I have the pleasure of welcoming Betha. Betha I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name too, Lord Jesus. How pronounce your last name, Betha?
Obayuana.
Uboyuana.
Obayuana. Yeah.
Betha Oboyuana. Writing clearly.
Don't worry about it, Nifa. I'll say it again.
A little tough there. Writing center family lore spanning almost 2 centuries, and whose roots began in pre-colonial East Africa. Her writing is a deliberate collaboration of her ancestors and contribution to generational identity and liberation. Preserving the stories she grew up hearing from her children and larger community to be enjoyed and learned from has become the legacy of Betha. Betha believes in worth writing, fighting for. Many of the stories are first and second-hand accounts from her elders, including her mother, from whom she is named after. She is the 5th-born child and the 4th-born daughter. So whether she is indeed a favorite or a mother, just ran out of the girl child names, is still a point of contention. In addition to writing, Betha serves as the proud co-founder of the family-owned and operated business Perel, Parents, People Advocating for Racial Equity and Liberation. Betha currently lives in Central Ohio with her husband, Al. Oh, Al, I have an uncle named Al. 3 children, Zalika, Zakiah, and Zahara. Their dog, Ziggy, and an ever-growing number of fish. Hey, Betha, come on now.
Yes, Betha.
Thank you, Nifa. Thank you so much. My last name is pronounced Obayuana. All right. The story I'm about to share with you is a short story about the birth of my bibi, which is grandmother in Kiswahili. It is to be included in a larger body of work. It is set in a small village in Tanganyika when all the faces were beautiful shades of black, brown and blue and black. I'm sorry, black and brown. This piece chronicles my maternal history going back to the 1500s. It is not lost on me that there are many Black people who are the proud descendants of our cousins who were stolen, and therefore whose histories were also stolen. The work I do is for all of us. My story is your story, is my story. Kwitanana Village, Tanganyika, 1925. The brown earth near the lake was warm, still radiating remnants of the kisses the equatorial sun had given to it before waking the other side of the world. Familiar darkness was setting in. Dim kerosene wicker lamps and ukinoba, the shimmering reflections of the moon on a lake, were the only sources of light in the small fishing village of Kwitanana. To the Simbiti, people of the southeastern part of Lake Nyanza, light was inconsequential. They knew their way around and about their land the way it was meant to be known, naturally. So when the midwife sent word to the women of the village that my great-grandmother, Monica Robi, was soon to give birth to yet another child, they operated in the darkness with a knowing confidence. They worried if this child would make it. No doubt this one, like many others, would not survive. The caucus of wise women had secretly agreed earlier in her pregnancy that they must spare her the trauma associated with breastfeeding a child that would not survive past the age of crawling. For reasons unknown, many of her 18 babies passed on either within their first week of life or before they reached their first birthday. Only 3 of them survived. So when this baby entered the world, the 3 eldest and purest of women of the group took the child without allowing my great-grandmother to breathe in her newborn. More importantly, the women did not allow breast milk to touch the baby's lips. With the few rags they managed to gather, the 3 wiser ones bundled her and explained to my great-grandmother that they were going to take the child before the next world did. Why bother with impressing upon your body that milk is needed, only to be left with painful, milk-filled breasts in the coming months with no child to feed? Engorged breasts serving only as a constant reminder of a child gone, the older women said. They were going to spare Monica Robi the pain she had endured with the other lost ones. In the event that the child survives 1 full day, they advised, then she will remain yours for a lifetime. In the early morning, before the sun saluted the land, the baby was still alive. The 3 women began to do the work they were chosen to do. Chosen because they had defeated menopause and were least likely to be distracted by humanly desires like sex, and therefore were considered virgin-like, pure. Because of this, they were revered in the community as virtuous leaders whose lineage was closest to God and whose prayers were more likely to be considered. Hungry, the baby girl whimpered as one woman gathered her up. The second took an ungo, a large concave shallow bowl used to separate pebbles and other debris from whatever the seasonal grains happened to be. The third woman played the role of speaker. As they went door to door in the village, their request remained the same. Torahonya! Anyone home? We have something if you're willing to listen, said the speaker. Yes, they'd respond. We have Monica Robi's baby here. Her babies do not want to stay in this life with her. Will you please take her, raise her as your own? It is our prayer that she lives, but it may not be in her destiny to live with Monica Robi. With a certainty, the neighbors responded, what will I do with Monica Robi's child? God chose her to be of Monica Robi, and what assurance do I have she will not die in my care? No, take this child back to Monica Robi. With her, take this small offering with you. This child will live to be old, and from her womb will a community be made. We pray for this. And so was the response from all of the neighbors, a prayer of survival and offerings carefully set in the ungo. Offerings consisting of a cup of this or a cup of that, usually millet flour, milk, or grains. Small, yet meaningful items to a village strife with hunger. Upon their return home from the community, the 3 wise women swiftly bathed and pierced only one of the baby's ears, using a kishere, a beautiful cowrie shell from the lake, as an earring. The speaker then instructed the baby with the following. You have made it this far, and you will make it further. Remain strong and live. May God thwart all evil and disease away from you. Give birth to children who will give birth to children, making you a founder of a nation. Make your mother proud and build a name to be heard of in distant lands. Only then did the 3 wise women return the baby, my grandmother, my children's great-grandmother, Kishere Kinansi, to her own mother, Monica Robi. Immediately, Bibi began to suckle.
Give it up, East Africa in the house.
That's right. That's right.
Great job, Betha.
Yeah,
Right.
beautiful.
Ashe.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce, oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, it's your people.
Those are my people. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Fette Brown. Fette Brown is writing a story on her family in short narratives. Remembering My Ancestors is one of them. In the past, she has written children's plays like Marriage of the Mouse and Big Fat Woman. She has a communications degree with an emphasis on children's theater. In the 5 weeks that I've gotten to know Fette through her work, I can easily say that the depth, the life experience, and candor, and even comedy that she's brought to all of her pieces leave me wanting to know more. So it's my distinct honor to really introduce Fette Brown. Fette, you're welcome.
Oh, Thank you so much.
Hey,
Thank
Betty.
you. Okay, my piece is remembering my ancestors, and it's a piece with as a bigger work. I mean, I have more to write, and including remembering my ancestors. Okay, I'll start now. My ancestry comes from the Black Indian tribes of Choctaw and Chickasaw of Oklahoma. The Chickasaw Nation is a federally recognized Native American nation located in Oklahoma in the United States. The Chickasaw Nation originated in its homeland of the American Southeast, with territory in what is defined as modern-day Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky. In the 18th and 19th centuries, European Americans knew that Chickasaw was one of the historic 5 civilized tribes, all of whom were based in what became the southeastern United States. Most of their descendants remain as residents of what is now Oklahoma. The Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma is the 13th largest federally recognized tribe in the United States. Its members are related to the Choctaw and share a common history with them. The Chickasaw are divided into 2 groups. They call the Moedes, the Impakati, and the Inkutwapa. They traditionally followed a kinship system of matrilineal descent, in which inheritance and descent are traced through the maternal line. Children are considered born into the mother's family and clan and gain their social status from her. Women control some property, and heredity leadership in the tribe passed through the maternal line. I am on my heritage website with the ancestors and descendants of the Hudnall family, which dates back to 1892. The Colbert is included. That's my grandmother's name, her last name. Okay, and I'll begin. My grandmother, Little Mandy Colbert, was born March 1910 to Henry Colbert, who was born 1893. They were in the Chickasaw tribe, born in the Creek Nation, Indian Territory of Oklahoma. Date of her death was in 1920 in Creek County. And I never met her. She was married to Joseph Chappelle. I did, however, meet her half-sister, Katie Mae Luss, born March 13, 1902. She lived in Fresno, California, and died on June 22, 1999. My immediate ancestors consisted of my mom, born May 1919, and her other siblings of 1 sister and 3 brothers. Aunt Willa Mae was her half-sister, same mom, different father. Her 2 brothers also half-sibling. Uncle Joe and Uncle Milford Lane had the same father and same mom as my mom. But Uncle Nish was her full brother with the same mom and father. There were no other children from her mom, but her father had other children, which were Aunt Kathy, Uncle Jojo, Uncle Alberto, Uncle Nimrod. He was a year older than me and had passed also. Aunt Fanny and Aunt Gwen. Their last name was Chappelle. My mom passed in 2008. I remember her as a vibrant woman in her late 80s. She got her diploma from high school in her 60s, and in her early years, she was a fast woman, uneducated, but beautiful and a great cook. My Aunt Willa Mae was a sweet woman who always had food for us when we came to her house. I remember always being there whenever I needed her to give me advice, and I remember her smile and her little laugh that had a chuckle. I truly miss her. Her husband, Rogers, which she called him, was a great uncle. He would tell you jokes, which were under his breath, and give a great laugh when he was done. I never knew what he was saying, but I would laugh anyway. I remember him always just sitting at the kitchen table reading a newspaper. I would be at Aunt Willa Mae's house a lot when I was a small child, always playing with the neighbors' kids in the trees that was in the back of her house. It was so much fun. My Uncle Joe was a dark, short, brown man, and when he laughed, his cheeks would turn red. He also had a round belly that would shake when he laughed. He lived in Dawes Palace, California. His children, my cousins, were born 1 to 3 years of my birth. We are all now in our mid to late 70s. We have so much fun remembering when we were young and going through life. He was the father of 1 daughter and 3 sons. My Uncle Milford was also short, but I remember his temperament as more sober. He also lived in Dawes Palace. He had 2 sons also around my age. Uncle Nish was the youngest of the brothers, and he also lived in Dawes Palace. He never had any children. I spent time with Uncle Nish and his former wife, Aunt Nini. She was of Indian descent. I do not remember what her tribe was, but she would take me to work with her when I would spend the summers with them. She was kind of mean. She worked at a home where she picked vegetables and fruits and would cook for this family. I also remember the smells of raw veggies and fruits, freshly picked, then canned for the family. I never spent a lot of time with some of the other ancestors from my grandfather's children, but I did spend time with Aunt Kathy, Uncle Jojo, and Uncle Alverso because they came to live with my mom when they got out of school. I have those cousins from them that live in Sacramento and Hayward. I did not know my maternal grandmother, neither my paternal grandmother. My mother told me that her dad, my grandfather, was rumored to have killed her mother and took both she and her brother away. She and her brother ended up with my great aunt, Aunt Katie. I am close to her daughter, my second cousin, Joyce, who is a few years younger than I. I was so confused when I was young with all the halves of some of the family members, but as time went on, I understood completely. During my time with the Bay Area Kwanzaa Committee, when doing ceremonies, I would pour libations to members of my family that had passed and said prayers to them while calling their names. Understanding ancestors is so important. I didn't seem to get it then, but now I can continue, burn candles for them and burn ancestor money for them, which is said to help them in their afterlife, and continue seeing them during my meditations. When thinking of them, I see in my mind's eye each one of them, and the feeling I get from them is like a warm blanket covering me. All the memories of them are in me through my blood, and they will always be with me forever. Thank you. That's my piece.
Thank you, Fette.
Fette.
Good job, Fette.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes,
Fette,
yes.
Fette, I have a question because Fette's our last speaker, so we author, so we have a lot of time. Fette, do you mind reading one of the stories that you wrote in class, like the one where you said about your back against the wall, or the one where you went to the movies? Was that you who talked about going to the movies?
Yeah.
That was her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you mind sharing one of those stories?
Sure. Let me find it.
And I'll share a little bit of something about Fette. So everybody has something so unique about them. And one of the unique things about Fette is she is the oldest member of our group. She is almost 80 years old, and she is working on her first book. So please give it up for her. I'm acknowledging that. Yes, lifelong learners. Did you find it, Fette?
No, not yet. Wait a minute. I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
My computer is, yeah.
Think of the questions that you would like to ask them while she's coming, pulling up that story. Think of questions that you would like to ask the authors, because we have plenty of time to do that, and it will be just lovely to have that experience, you know, as they're preparing to eventually one day actually having a complete book, and then having to answer questions about their writing process, about their inspiration for their stories, about how they've grown over the course of the 5 weeks. Any questions that you have will be wonderful after Fette shares this last story.
Okay, I'm looking for it.
Okay.
I'm looking for it.
Okay, take your time, Fette. Just let me know whenever you found it, and then I'll stop talking.
Okay, good.
And then, let's see, that was Fette. And then, okay, so Courtney, when she called me to inquire about the course, she asked me all these questions about marketing and about this and that. And I was like, I don't think this is the right course, because she asked me about marketing. I mean, I can share that, but it's not a marketing course. And she kept going. I was like, she's not going to do this, but she kept me on the phone. So I was like, okay. And then finally, she was like, well, how much is it? I said, how much was? She said, okay, I'll do it. It'll be a birthday gift for myself. I was like, oh, okay. And then in spite of all those questions about marketing, she came in, and she's a blogger. And then she came in and she started sharing all these stories, right? And anybody, all of us can chime in about each other as I'm like highlighting what stood out for me for each author. But yeah, Courtney came in and she started sharing all these stories. I was like, oh my God. She said, well, maybe I shouldn't say, maybe you should say it, but I remember you saying, oh, you didn't come in thinking about writing a book, but now you're like, maybe I should write a book.
Yeah. No, you can say it. I definitely did. That was my mindset coming in. I had no intentions on writing a book whatsoever.
Yeah.
But after, going through your course and just, kind of speaking with everybody and learning some things, a book doesn't have to be like the typical novel that we always see. You can create your piece however you choose to. And I think it was Mazan that said to incorporate recipes or, whether it's a short story or whether it's a poem, there's no right or wrong way. It's just your way.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Mizan, since she mentioned you want to talk a little bit about how you've been conceptualizing your book? Because you did say that, I'm going to do it on, short stories, recipes, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think I was having some trouble thinking about like how to structure things and really what would be most meaningful as an offering to kind of the movement that we're in right now. And then what I kept writing. And so what I kept writing was not like a book of essays. It was more like poetry. And so I want to do a little bit of both. So it's going to be all of that. Like I say, the little bit of poetry, a little bit of essays and, conversations, even some interviews, recipes, practices, just kind of almost as if you're in a workshop with me and we doing it together. So yeah, that's what it will look like.
And you tend to give workshops on what?
Yeah, so my husband and I have an organization called Spirit Works, and we do workshops and professional development and create artistic spaces, mainly focused around intergenerational wellness and racial healing. So that looks really different and is a really broad kind of concept, but it can be things from transformative leadership for executive directors of organizations, or it could be a living museum that we have, the Experience Sankofa Project. That's a immersive kind of history lesson that you get to see, smell, feel what it would be like to go travel through the timeline of Africa to present day Oakland. It's all kinds of things, but you can see more. I'll put our website in the chat if folks are interested about some of that work as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all. Thank you.
And another author here who gives workshops would be Monifa for Be Imaginative. Would you like to talk about the work that you do with Be Imaginative? We just did a live on transcending grief. So yeah, on Instagram, you can see that on my page.
Yes. The idea is creating a space. I feel like often in our culture, we don't kind of tackle our grief and our trauma that we're going through. So my cousin and I and other co-founders, we created an organization that, that focus on trauma, creating a space for our people and hosting retreats. Often we noticed that it was a lot of mothers and families losing their children and their children being killed to gun violence and police brutality. So we were thinking, like, how can we hold these mothers? How can we provide the space? And what does that healing looks like for our people in our community? So we get these mothers and families as men in the space too. And we kind of, give them the opportunity to see people who know that same trauma. I don't know anything about losing a child, but there's another mother that we invite to the space who knows that same pain, and how can we create a family structure and support around that. So we do that for our families, and after we create the space, we interview them, we give them the opportunity to tell their narrative. Often in time, media will say, like, the person had a mental illness, or this is and that was going on, but the mother can say like, no, my son was executed, you know, like brutally murdered, you know, however the mother want to address what happened to her child. And the interview just give the mother that power to address it. And from that space, we create an exhibit, an art showcase of the artwork that we create from the retreat. The interviews, the mothers are on the panel where we invite the community to come out and hear their stories and hear the collective healing that we did at the retreat. And it's just a space for us to really center our trauma and center that pain that we often don't talk about. So I'm just like overjoyed and honored to, you know, be in this work and continue that, because, you know, Black folks, we don't like to talk about mental illness. We don't talk about like to talk about mental health in general. And, you know, we always trying to be strong all the damn time, and that shit got to go. Like, we got to stop trying to be strong. We got to really work on self-preservation and taking care of ourselves, and really centering when we not feeling good. Let people know how we feeling and expressing that. So yeah, we are creating those spaces.
Thank you, Nifa, for sharing that. Yeah, and maybe you can put a link to or tell everybody how they can connect with Be Imaginative in the chat box too. Yeah.
Yes, I can write it in the link and say Be Imaginative Collective. You can find us. Oh, sorry, you can find us on Instagram, but I'll write it in the chat too.
Yeah. And then Ron came, and Ron I know as a photographer, and then Ron said he wanted to join the writing program, and he wanted to talk about clouds. I remember the first day, right, when you shared about your clouds, everybody was like, dang, I really see clouds differently now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're on mute, Ron. Did you want to say anything about
yeah. Well, I think one of the things too is that I have a lot of photographs, like, you know, sunsets, sunrises, and somehow I just kind of come into the situation of clouds, and that's, you know, and I think of clouds of, you know, instead of saying, you know, CLOUDS, it's CLOUDZ. And so when I use clouds in that way, it's not just you know, the clouds you see in the sky, but, you know, the clouds we see in our lives, you know, things that, you know, the tears, you know, I made one comment that everybody appreciated. It was like, you know, the tears are also clouds. So where the things that form clouds. And so I was taking a lot of pictures and different things like that. And I started, you know, really seeing different social things and environmental things where, you know, how clouds can, the environmental things or climate change can change based upon, you know, if there's a volcano, then it, you know, circles, the smoke goes into the air, and the environment changes, the cloud formation changes, that because of the temperature, you know, the ground swell and things like that change. Or if there's an underwater explosion, where, you know, France was doing nuclear testing underwater, which changes the whole ecosystem, which changes the whole cloud formation. So just little things like that, or, you know, not little things, but there are big things that kind of we don't think about, that forms, you know, our environment today, you know, and that really, you know, structures who we are and how the environment kind of continues. So those kind of things, you know, kind of came out, and even like in today's world, you know, kind of going through what we're going through now, you know, we're, you know, it's like I kind of feel like we're all in a state, you know, if I'm seeing that you know, the George Floyd thing, how we all are traumatized. So it's like we all are kind of coming to this mental cloud that we don't see, you know, but at the same time, it's like, how do you get this cloud out? So those kind of things I really try to kind of come in, create writings for, to create expressions for, but at the same time show beautiful pictures or, you know, different things. So that way it's not just you know, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist in terms of, you know, trying to use pictures to ease the pressure or the traumatization that we go through. So anyway, I enjoy doing that. And along with that, I use a lot of my photographs too, because I created like a custom card. So I use that, and during this downtime, I'm really seeing that since papyrus has gone out of business, you know, it kind of opens up for a new Black art business, mine, to, you know, to develop at some point in time. So, yeah, you know, even like some of the things I use in the writings, I'll kind of put into a card format. So that's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing right now. And as far as a coffee table type book with, you know, a lot of pictures that you might find in different places that you might go into. So that's my goal.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. And just so that the other two authors can also have an opportunity to speak on their experience with writing and maybe expand a little bit more on their work as well. Jamel, would you like to share anything more about your experience as a writer and your process with writing and where you're going with your writing?
Yeah. So my experience with writing has transformed over time. Reason why I put in my bio that I was a military veteran is because it's part of the thing that my writing has helped me to be able to cope with and be able to begin to understand what that even means. Because I have been able to. I'll share this piece with y'all. This right here is a piece for a class that I took at the university that I was being able to be a part of that was called combat paper making, which was we took our uniform, we cut it into stamp size pieces, we put our uniform into a beater machine that broke it down into a pulp. With that pulp, we let it dry, put it onto a sheet, and that is the paper that you see. This is actually a uniform, and the ink is also from the pulp, which was mixed with the paint to be able to start to create, to be able to transform who we were and start to connect with ourselves again. So writing for me, this is my second time through this class. Every time it's helped me to gain a little bit more of myself and my identity away from the uniform. Much like many of you have been saying, and why I feel good in being part of this space is simply because I was allowed to be myself. Nifa actually just came into on this, but everybody's been talking about it, Nissan included. For the last couple of days, I've been really messed up. I've been, in my head dealing with my stuff, trying to, make the best of it, which actually inspired peace. But my writing has continuously allowed me to grow and to every time I reach that plateau to be able to kind of move forward, bust through, and just be able to express and be able to keep moving. And so my writing, although I don't always want to walk around and say, hey, I'm this militant individual, I'm this individual that's always on high alert. I'm part of a collective of people that are doing this because there's a message that needs to be heard, and we're not doing it for clout. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I've been able to experience with sharing this space with y'all for the last couple of weeks. So I just want to say thank you for helping to enrich my spirit and my writing capabilities so that I know what my voice truly is and how I can really that it is something to be heard. And so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is Jamel's second round with Life Changing Writing in 5 weeks. It's Life Changing Writing in 10 weeks with Jamel. We're not doing it for the clout, we're doing it for the clouds. Thank you, Jamel, so much. Always a pleasure. And Betha came in, and did this story change at all from the beginning? I'm like, did I just steal her money? Like, I feel like she came in already with a complete story.
So a lot of my pieces are incomplete. I consider them as incomplete. They're stories, like I said, they've been told over and over and over again. Their family stories. So this piece I had been working on prior to the class, but it needed to be fine-tuned. And what I enjoyed through this 5 weeks mostly has been the community of writers having that accountability. I live a really busy life, and I had forgotten the excitement and the joy that writing brings. And because I was forced to do it in this class, I looked forward to it, even when it was tough. Waking up earlier to put the work in. So it's like that practice. And some are new stories that I've gotten that I haven't shared with the group yet, which I feel might even be more, even better than the previous ones. So I'm enjoying the process more, and I look forward to sharing more. This is the first time I've ever read to a group or shared to people that I didn't know. So this was a really wonderful experience. I appreciate everyone on the call for all the love, because there's nothing like having your community, you know, back you and affirm you, and it's motivating, and I love y'all, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for having me in this space. I will also say that, you know, the group that I've been in, there's so many different personalities in the group. They're all so beautiful, and they all bring such a unique energy that I feel I have learned a lot from each and every one of you. So thank you so much, Courtney, Nifa, Ron, Mizan, Jamel. You know, I know we have probably one more class together, but I'm sure we'll cross paths and we'll keep in touch. So love y'all. Thank you.
Love you too, for sure, for sure. We family forever.
Yes.
And it was
Much
so
love to you
hard
guys.
because I'm friends with Betha's sister. I had just met Betha for the program, but I'm friends with Lucia Shoulder. I'm friends with Betha's sister. She's a dear friend of mine, Asteria, and she would always talk about me, her, and Betha growing old together, and I had never met Betha. And then when Betha was in the program, I was like, "Go tell Asteria," and then Betha was like, "Nobody knows. Nobody knows." I was like, "Oh my God, okay." So this was hard work of us keeping it a secret from Asteria. And then Fette, how was it for you? How has your writing changed? How are you? You know, how do you feel about your writing? There, Fette? I don't know if Fette's still there.
I seen a thing that said Fette Brown left.
Oh, she left. Okay, her daughter's still here. Okay. Okay, maybe she fell off or something. Okay, well, the floor is open to anyone who has any questions for the authors. Any last things that you'd like to say to the authors? I'm grateful that for all of you all who stayed to the very end, and grateful for everyone who came. We had up to 33 people who stayed really until Fette ended. And then, you know, now we have some people had to leave early. So this is a beautiful thing. For those who are still here, do you have any words of encouragement, words that you'd like to give to your fellow authors who invited you?
My name is Pauline Haynes, and I'm Mazan's mother, and I'm very honored and humbled to be in the space of all these writers and budding writers, and I am totally impressed. My daughter has always impressed me, and I'm totally impressed by the depth of the emotions that you all bring to your writing. And I'm also in a writing group. So this was something that I didn't know that we're both doing a writing group, you know, it just so happened. But I love the beauty and the depth that you bring to your craft, and it is a craft. And I was just honored to listen, and in listening, for me, I close my eyes because then I'm not distracted by anything. And the images that were conjured up for me were just absolutely fascinating and amazing. And the word salad that was used continually made it so much more impressive for me. So thank you for allowing me an entree into a space that I consider sacred as writers. So thank you. And I do have one question. Do each of you have a set time that you do your writing? Do you say, like, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's a daily thing that you do, or is it by happenstance, or are you very motivated and very rigid in your timing? For anyone.
Well, I'll go first answering. Hi, Mazan's mom. I'm Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Miss Pauline.
I loved your piece. I loved your piece, Courtney. Yes.
Thank you.
It's honest. It's honest and it's real. And yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To answer your question, I have a certain time that I love to write. Due to my day job, I can't just sit in my sacred space and write all day, but my best writing time would be between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. I'm a night owl. I love being up at night. I feel like that's when my brain works the most. I can relax. I'm not distracted by phones or work or anything else. So that's my, that's the time for me, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Perfect. Of course, my brain shuts off at that time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have a dedicated time, but I have spaces that I really enjoy writing in. You know, one is like the Oakland Museum, the African American Museum and Libraries, a place I like to go to be able to sit down and write. I find myself out also, you know, as taking pictures. I don't really see anything until I sit down and, you know, look at the pictures I've taken, and then sometimes the stories will just come based upon things I hear and or see. So it becomes a process in a sense, you know, that evolves, because I can look at something in different pictures and create stories. Where I have one that kind of deals with shell mounds. I have these pictures of like when they had the excuse me, the Napa fire, there was this layer of smoke above Mount Tam. And I was in the Oakland Hills. I took this picture and I'm watching the sun set, and it's kind of coming down below the clouds. And below, and right where you see Mount Tam, there's a layer of tule fog. And so that kind of conjured up this whole spirit, this whole title of the spirit of the shell mounds, in a karmic sense, where, you know, you got the shell mounds at the bottom with the fog protecting Mount Tam, and the smoke above it kind of keeping it, you know, the shell mounds clear. So things like that just kind of formulate, you know, as you kind of, you know, as I kind of go through, you know, the process of just seeing things. And, you know, I'm a very creative mind, and being a person who works in engineering and doing drafting, between listening to music and everything else is just imagination, you know, as I kind of go through the process of doing that. So now I get a chance to really kind of lay it out to do something I really want to do, which is kind of like a coffee table picture type book, kind of like the Gordon Parks type book scenarios.
So you're inspired by your surroundings always.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry. Something happened to my computer. I couldn't find my piece, but that I typed, but I have it written down. So I could read that if you still want, or you guys want to go. You're muted, Marcia. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes. I just wanted
Okay,
us to, everybody was responding to, Mizan's mom had a question, and so people were responding to that. So if we could give people, anyone else who wanted to respond to her question.
Oh yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Did any other
Yeah,
writers?
sure. I'll answer that question. After beginning this this course, I allotted at least 15 minutes every very early morning before the kids got up. Sometimes if it didn't happen, I would at least try to get, even if it was 5 throughout the day. And another thing is the stories that I write are about people who also are still alive, like my mother and my aunt, who is actually on this call. So it was her mother's birth story that I shared. And so right now I'm working on a piece. So it really depends on the person who's telling me the story. Like I'm working on a piece, and just the other day I was talking to my aunt again, who's on the call. You know, I'll get pieces from her, you know, the facts from her, and then I'd try and get the facts from my mom, because sometimes both of them will add a little salt, will add a little something, and I'm trying to like corroborate which pieces are, you know, are consistent. So depending on when they're available, that sometimes the story happens as well.
Great. And I have one more quick question, and I just
I
wanted
want
to
to
throw
answer.
that.
I want to answer real quick.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I want to answer too.
Okay.
I love your question.
Right.
This is really great, because what I learned in the class is that, so I'm always on go. I'm an organizer, so I'm always like out, you know, doing actions and stuff, but I don't really have time to like focus on like when I'm going to write. What I learned is that I'm a talk writer, so I can talk it, record it, and then transcribe it. So if I'm telling a story to somebody, that's how I get my narrative out. I did a
Nice.
live with Coach Sia, and she was like, yo, that's the story right there. I'll just like transcribe, like kind of get what you just said and write that down. So I've been really using that as a technique to really help me get my narrative across, because I can talk it up. I'm going to talk it. So talk writing.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Mine has been, it hasn't been timed, it's been whenever the spirit has moved me. So I found myself in being out in the streets a lot like Monique, and actually the question I have for her as well. But it's like going out into the world and being overly stimulated. I found my time to write whenever I've been able to get back and finally decompress enough to be able to release whatever the writing is. So it's not a set time in a day, but it's a time when I've been able to step away from everything else. Make time to write. Makes sense.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And I don't want to monopolize your space. And like I said, I'm really honored to be here. But I was curious if in your writing and your thinking about things, because maybe some people are still alive, do you find yourself, if you're telling a story, do you ever find yourself editing what it is that you mean to say, just so that you're not offending or being somewhat inappropriate with somebody who's still alive? And how do you handle that?
Y'all better answer this right.
Yeah, I can answer that. One of the things that I was going to do that I thought about my mom when I was writing one of my pieces is that I didn't want to show her in a unsavory position from what I saw. So I had to edit that and make sure that I gave her her highest honor instead of looking at what I really wanted to say. So yeah, that was one thing I did.
And it's an interesting way to look at it, because when you're telling your story, even though there are other people involved in it, it's still your story. And how maybe a writing coach could speak to this. How do you get through that, telling your story in an authentic way, in a feeling way, without negating someone else or without embarrassing possibly somebody else?
That is such a good question. Thank you. I was just texting Bizon. I'm so grateful for your mom here adding the juice and stuff with all these questions. But that's like one of the
That's
biggest
where
things.
I get the juicy from, y'all. Where the juicy come from. Thank you, mama.
You're welcome, honey.
Yeah, so beautiful. But that, I feel like that's one of the things that stops people from writing, right? That's one of the blocks, whether they're even conscious of it or not. And ultimately, when people join my course, I have to remind them, right now it's between you and the page and no one else. No one else gets honored but you. You can write absolutely anything you want. This is your first draft. You got to get it out. If you don't get it out, if you like censoring yourself and telling yourself you can't tell it this way or that way, you're not going to get it out. The good, the bad, the ugly, because memory is fiction anyway, is what we find out, right? I mean, we try to be, right? We try to be as true to the memory as possible when we're writing a memoir or anything that requires us to remember events. We try to be as honest as possible, but in the end, it's all fiction. So I'm just starting out writing your rough draft. That's an intimate process between you, your thoughts, and the page. Once you get that out, then we can start looking at, well, you know, I have, I really want to say this, and it really concerns some private events of someone else's life. Then we can look at, well, what does that look like? People have different techniques. Some people change names, but there's people who are like, well, I still recognize that that's me, right? Remember, y'all saw, what was it, The Best Man? Wasn't that the one where he wrote the book?
Yes.
He just changed some names, and then when the guy, he read it, he knew that he had slept with his girlfriend, because all he did was change names, right? So sometimes it works, sometimes that don't. Sometimes people say, like, you want to create an event that evokes the feeling, but is not the exact replication of the event. So, maybe in your memory, something took place at a house, but here in the story, it takes place at a park. It's not the setting that matters so much as the feeling of the event. So what are, So people is different strategies that people use. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
But Fette, I
And
feel like,
Jamel,
oh,
I
sorry.
just got to say, Jamel, you just touched my heart as a mother and a grandmother. Just listening to your piece, you have, there's a softness and a beauty about you. And I get the sense of having been in the military that there's a harshness about the military. And I'm supposing that because I don't have personal experience. But your essence is so beautiful and so soft, and obviously who you are now has been shaped by that experience. And when you talk about your mother, I almost get that that's quintessentially who you are, and all the other stuff has been added, and the honoring of your mother was just so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pauline.
Mm-hmm. You're all brilliant, and I'm done. Giving the floor to somebody else.
Oh, we needed it. We needed you, Mama. Did anyone?
Ms. Ann, I haven't heard anything from you, my sweet.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm just listening. You and I could talk all the time, but I just wanted to make sure everybody else had a good space. So I can't answer the time on writing consistently because over the last week I have not been doing my good job on my writing. So, but I'm here and I write and I'm inspired and I love y'all and the community is dope and yep, the emotions are real and yep, thank y'all.
Mizan, I have a question for you. I know you share with us a lot of reading practices. You really ground us up before many of our writing practices. And your piece, was it actually performed to an actual breath practice, like apnea breathing or something like that, where the count was like a three off, 6 second, exhale, three inhale? Because I was trying to follow it. I swear I was trying to follow it. I was like, when is she telling me to do it? When am I inhaling? When am I exhaling?
So was the question, did I try to do it that way? No, I was actually kind of nervous, so I was rushing. I had to just slow down and breathe myself so that I could make it happen. But but there is that 4 to 8, to slow down your exhale so you can just kind of minimize the anxiety and support the stress response, in your body, just kind of come back to homeostasis to metabolize your emotions and make them move through you. So there is that process, but the piece did not, I don't think this piece was shared in that same vein. Yeah. I will say that I just recorded a piece with my husband, Spare the Nation, and there's there at the end of one of his songs about breath and breathe, and it does kind of have more of a rhythm and a cadence, but that's because there's music there that makes the count a little bit easier. But more to come on that. Y'all will get I'll send links out when that's real and up and out. So in the mix right now. So thank y'all.
Hey, Ms. Ann, it's interesting. I just texted you to say you should put that piece to music. Duh, are we synchronized or what?
Yes. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the juice.
And to the question earlier, Ms. Pauline, for me, in terms of writing things and talking about different things and environmental things, I had to do a little bit of research, but not be an expert on certain things. I'm kind of going by the Dale Carnegie theory. Whatever you talk about, you become the expert on. So I'll take claim, for that. And,
yes.
But so it's not just, things out of the sky, but then again, there are things that, that are actual, intuitive as well as factual.
Right. Oh, so you go by the science, huh?
Science, social, at some point in time, the culinary.
Right. It was kind of a little play on bringing a little bit of politics into it, but sorry.
Oh, thank you. Does Auntie, I don't know, Auntie Fowl, Auntie Mariana, do they have any questions? Well, I'll unmute you. She's like, unmute me. I'm trying, Mama. I don't know why it's not unmuting. I don't know. Unmute. Let me try this way. Oh, she gonna have to do it on her end for some reason. Ah, there we go.
Hi
I can hear you.
everyone.
Hi.
I enjoy listening the stories or the reading. It just gave me back the memory. My father always in the evening when we're all they finish eating, before we go to bed, we always get a story. So all the stories start coming from the ancestor, from who was, his name was so and so. And I enjoy for everyone the story and the pictures. I just lost my husband. That cloud. Thank you.
Oh, Ron, your clouds were right
Oh,
on
shame.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll send you a copy. I'll send you a copy of it. So help me get her a copy of it, Bertha, and I'll get it to you so you have one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm trying to unmute Mariana. That's also a relative, right, of yours, Betha? Oh, there,
Yes.
unmuted.
Sister.
I think. Oh, maybe she doesn't want to be unmuted.
Oh, mute mine.
I was trying to unmute Mariana. Would you like to say anything, Mariana?
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Mariana. I'm Betha's sister. Yeah, I really loved your piece. It was really great. Thank you for inviting me into this. I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I just saw 3 hours. But I'm really glad to have taken part in this. It's really been enjoyable. I can't articulate what I'm trying to say, but I really enjoyed everyone's piece. Pole sana, Dibepe. And I'm going to mute myself.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. And is there anyone else who wanted to say anything before we close out with Fette's story? Asteria, did you want to say anything?
Freely opening.
Start again.
Can you hear me?
Now, yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying thank you everyone for freely sharing of yourselves with a bunch of strangers. You know, if it was me, I'd be very nervous and it would just be a very nerve-wracking situation. So I appreciate for maybe other introverts here that it must have taken some courage. I also just want to say that I'm really happy for you all to have the space. You know, I love Marcia. You know, she's my, you know, soul sister that I always wished lived in an area, because I really don't have many friends who whose energy aligns with mine as much. And so I'm happy for you all writers or aspiring writers to just have the space to find each other. And, you know, I'm feeling all this love and y'all are going to be friends for life. And, you know, it's wonderful to find kindred spirits and to go through that. So congratulations, all of you. And congratulations, Sister Marcia, for just this, you know?
Yes, shout out to Sia for creating all of this.
All the twirl.
The twirl!
Yes.
Yes.
Shout out to Sia.
Twirling the smoke and twirling in the clouds, huh? Oh, okay. Well, if there are no other comments, Fette will take us out with her last story.
Oh, okay. I couldn't find the one where I was scared, but I typed it up. I couldn't find it, but I found it in the book that I wrote it in. So I'm going to use this.
This is one of the ones you shared in class, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a kind of a short piece. Okay, good.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Bring us home, Fette.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Here I go. I can't do this. It's hard, scary, and it hurts a lot sometimes. I'm being asked to reveal my innermost self. how am I supposed to be vulnerable when ever since I can remember, I've had to defend myself? I literally have had my back up against the wall, at home with mom, at work with coworkers, also with family of daughters, past husbands, and grandchildren. Because of this, I have had to protect my feelings and not protest to folks out loud who offended me. Being the only girl to my mom, I always asked questions my mom couldn't or wouldn't answer. She made me go to, well, this is where, she made me go to a space where she couldn't or would not answer my questions. It would be on who is God? Where is he? What is spirit? Speaking my voice became a challenge. Folks that were Christians began to categorize me as crazy, weird, and don't talk to her. Okay, now, you know what? My notes, I'll go to where I was backed up against the wall, like using my psychic gifts to help a fellow coworker out with a reading, because I did tarot cards. He told the supervisor, who is a Jehovah's Witness, and after talking to staff about my going to do a tarot reading, the staff stopped talking to me except for business at hand. I stopped talking to my coworker who told my supervisor. So yeah, I got lost in this piece because I had wrote it out and typed it out. So that was the end of that.
That's okay, Fette. Thank you for looking for it and for trying. And we know how it was when it was in class. We know it was dynamite.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Fette.
Thanks, Fette.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Fette.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, I'm grateful for everyone who came to support and stayed on and asked questions. Mama Pauline, Mama, is it Peppy? Mama Peppy, Mariana, and these two phones down here that I don't know their names. And then there's iPhone right there. Oh, this was great. This concludes Life-Changing Writing in 5 Weeks' first public author reading. Yes.
We're making history.
We making history.
Yes.
Anybody want to join me for a live to talk about how the experience was? I'm finna get on Instagram, See a Love Music, and they can get on, join me for a live. It could be the guests or the authors. Okay, so we can just talk about how it was for you. So that's it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Ciao.
See you all later. See you all Wednesday.
All righty.
Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.